At the end of the first chapter of Doctor Who Flux, the universe was left in peril as the Flux engulfs all of time and space, including the TARDIS. Now we have the next chapter, War of the Sontarans. The Doctor, Yaz and Dan all end up in different time zones. The Doctor is in the middle of the Crimean War, Dan is in present day, and Yaz just happens to end up in the far future on a mysterious planet. And this planet just happens to be called Time. Bit on the nose, isn't it? Yet again, this episode of Doctor Who introduces a lot more plot threads, as well as continues the ones which were set up in Chapter 1. From the off, it's pretty clear that there is something wrong with time due to the nature of the flux. The TARDIS is continuing to malfunction to the point that the Doctor can't use it for the majority of this episode. There's even a point where she can't even find the doors to the TARDIS, and that's quite concerning for her as well as me as a viewer, because the TARDIS has always been this symbol of hope. It has been the one constant throughout the whole history of Doctor Who. In essence, the Doctor is trapped in Sevastopol in the 1850s. Here, the British Army are ready to fight the enemy. But it's not the Russians, it's in fact the Sontarans. Time has been rewritten. The Sontarans were aware of the flux, and they've used this to their advantage by invading Earth in the past and changing history forever. The Doctor must defeat the Sontarans again, but now with limited resources. She's aided by Mary C. Cole, a nurse who treated many wounded soldiers in the Crimean War. Sarah Powell guests as Mary C. Cole, and she's one of the best performers in this. Another great historical figure has been done justice in the world of Doctor Who. We also have General Logan, who is a bit of a stereotype when it comes to British generals. He's stubborn enough to believe that he can outfight an army of Sontarans. Overall, I appreciate what Chibnall was going for with this particular character, but I didn't really care much for him, and I just feel like the idea of someone in authority ignoring the Doctor's advice has been done to death now in Doctor Who. As a consequence, it did slightly ruin my enjoyment of the episode, as there was a little bit of exposition to explain to viewers what the hell was going on, what the hell this event was, and I just felt like we got a little bit too much of that, especially with all the stuff on the planet Time. I have to give a huge credit to John Bishop again for his portrayal of Dan. I love the scenes with him infiltrating the Sontaran base at Albert Dock. I also love the fact that for half of this entire episode, he was carrying a bloody frying pan. Carvanista shows up in the last act, and I'll be honest, I cheered when he's shown up. He still looks ridiculous though, but in a sort of good way. Him and Dan are like the duo I never realised I wanted. The best thing that I can take away from this episode, though, is the fact that we finally have the Sontarans being made a credible Doctor Who villain again. It doesn't matter what you thought of the previous Sontaran appearances from the Tennant and Smith eras. This episode made them into a legit threat again. Jonathan Watson provides an excellent performance as multiple Sontarans in this, as does Dan Starkey. The scene when the Sontaran commander and the Doctor go head-to-head was sublime. The icing on the cake was the reference to Commander Lynx being hailed as a legend back on Sontar after his attempt to conquer Earth in the events of The Time Warrior, a story which came out nearly 50 years ago. That put a smile on my face. The look of these guys is just badass. While I wouldn't say that the masks are necessarily the best that we've ever had, the armour is a work of art. This should be the design for the Sontarans going forward. In addition, that battle between the Sontarans and the Light Brigade, how amazing was that? For a small budget TV show, I thought it worked quite well. The one downside about the Sontarans in this, though, is I thought they did get defeated a bit too easily. The most baffling stuff about this episode was all the stuff on Planet Time. Joseph Williamson ends up randomly appearing, and he mumbles some stuff to Yaz before disappearing again, and that's it. Yet again, like in Chapter 1, I ask, what the hell? Vinder is here as well. He befriends Yaz and they share a nice scene together with a bit of filler dialogue. I'd still like to learn more about Vinder though, because we still don't know all that much about him. From these 2 episodes so far, I feel that Mandip Gill has finally been given some breathing room to establish who her character really is. While she's not the one of the 3 leads who steal the show, I think John Bishop is the one who does it in this one, she's far more effective, especially in that gut punch ending. The Doctor and Dan are reunited with the TARDIS, and it's forced to land on the planet Time by Swarm and Azure. These 2 baddies continue their great form from last week, and they still impress me. Those 2 are really powerful beings. They destroy those triangle drones with a click of a finger, and Yaz and Vinder end up in the same predicament in the end. It is a cliffhanger that reminds me so much of those great ones from Classic Who, which made me appreciate the format for which this series is trying to go for. War of the Sontarans does well in providing many great moments for not only our main cast, but even with the villains. Chris Chibnall gets the Sontarans as villains. This is a return to form which I've been waiting for years, and this is what they deserved. I'd say it's a toned down script compared to the first chapter, as it's far more focused on the Sontarans and just a lot more other things in general. I did feel in parts that there's quite a bit of exposition. I still very much enjoyed it though. We still have so much more with the Swarm and Azure to come, and there's so many unanswered questions going into Chapter 3 and beyond. Join me when I review Doctor Who Flux, Chapter 3, Once Upon Time, an episode which is sure to dial everything up to 11. We have Weeping Angels, Cybermen, and hopefully we find out the answer to the one thing on our minds. Will Yaz survive the snap? If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, leave a comment, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe and hit the bell button to stay right up to date with more Doctor Who videos.